In this episode, we are full on spoilers for both the books and the show. Viewer discretion is advised.
Hi, I'm Olver's Ears.
Hi, Max.
And I'm the Geeky Hippie. Welcome back to What the Adaptation. Here we're discussing our favorite books turned to TV shows. This week we're discussing episode 2 of season 4 of The Expanse, titled Jetsam. Let me just say hi to the people in the chat. We've got Chronic Viking and Noam Garden. Welcome, both of you. Thanks for coming and watching. Hope you guys are having a great night. Max, what can you tell us about this episode?
Oh, can't remember what even happened. It's been a while. I can tell you, though, that the director of this episode is Breck Eisner. Was last week's episode.
Yep.
He has directed the first 2 episodes of each season, starting from season 2 through season 6. Starting the season through and season 5, he has directed an additional 2 episodes, 9 and 10. He has directed a total of 14 of 62 episodes of Expanse.
Nice.
And
It's pretty good, too.
I forgot to
Do
include.
you know who wrote this one?
Sorry, what was that?
Who wrote this one? I didn't catch that one earlier.
Give me 1 second here. I had an additional thing I was going to share here
Okay.
about him.
Always good to get new info.
Yeah, I forgot to share the slide. These are some of the things he had directed.
Oh, let's see.
We know him from before because we've talked about him in the past as he directed the movie Sahara.
Yeah.
Obviously, The Expanse and some of these other shows I'm not really familiar with. And here's the second one, The Invisible Man and Thought Crimes. Like I said, I'm not really too familiar with these.
Taken was okay.
Then on IMDb and the wiki, Laura Marks is listed as the writer. She is only credited for writing 1 episode of The Expanse.
Oh,
And these would be what she is listed as a writer for.
That's some good stuff there. Ray Donovan's a good one. The Exorcist. The Good Fight. I've heard several of these and heard good things.
You know, as far as what happened in the episode, it's still more of that drama stuff going on where it's kind of a slow burn of a lot of little things happening. Whether they happened in the book, you know, we got some stuff.
Right.
We got a little Indiana Jones action.
Yeah, because like always happens on the TV show, Holden fucks everything up.
Yeah.
You know, in the book, I'm pretty sure it wasn't Holden's fault, everything happening in the book. But this episode made it pretty clear that everything proto-molecule involved, the builder involved, that goes wrong is Holden's fault.
And, you know, Amos probably had the best time of the episode.
oh yeah.
Yeah. He got to ride with this wonderful guy, and then he got to sleep with Way. Yeah, Holden does stick his dick in it.
I wasn't sure who he was talking about, whether it was Amos or...
Yeah,
no, that was Holden. In this case, it was both.
Yeah.
But, yeah. We had a little bit of Eva Solara. We had your Martian friend kind of getting into a little bit of trouble.
Mm-hmm.
Just lots of little plot lines, slow burning, building things up into what's going to be a crescendo of stuff.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So what'd you gentlemen think of this particular episode?
Well, I was pleased that Bobby's story is moving along at a real nice pace. She got a little action in. You got to get a little action in,
especially with Bobby.
Oh yeah, yeah. I like what they've done with her and David. The change that they made. Well, we haven't gotten into changes yet, but
right.
I just like what they're doing with Bobby's story here. They're setting the stage, and it's nicely done, little by little, just brick by brick. They're building her up.
We got the cutting Eva Solara this episode.
Mhm. She just seems so.
I've got a train. I'll be.
Oh,
Oh, okay. Yeah, she is just. I mean, she always looks so good, and when she got up to speak at the big dinner, that was just. She's so gracious and wonderful, and you just know she's lying through her teeth. She's wonderful.
mhm.
She's going to be so good as Elida.
Oh, I hope so.
Speaking of that, if you haven't seen her in the Penguin,
Really? I didn't know she was in there.
yep,
Okay.
Okay. That's with Colin Farrell?
I believe that's who it is. Yes.
Yeah, underneath a ton of makeup, so you
Yeah.
can't really tell it's him.
The one that
And-
just came out a couple
On
years
HBO.
ago. Yeah.
Just this
Okay.
last year.
Oh, okay.
Time
marches on.
Yeah, it just came out this last year on HBO Max, and she is one of the mafia people.
Ooh, sounds like
And-
a good part for her.
Fantastic. And like you take her role in that show and maybe combine it with Avis Laura, and I think you got Elida.
Okay.
Okay.
That'll be interesting to see. So, Max, what's our first question tonight?
It's our standard of what's changed from the source material, and did those changes impact your enjoyment of this episode?
Like I pointed out, I mean, everything falls on Holden's head here after him and Miller cut that root out. So that's one change. The change that I'm not quite sure after several times watching and reading this book and season, I like that I don't like losing Basha and instead getting the substitute husband, Jacob. We actually we've met Basha before. We met Basha in season 2 when we were on Ganymede. He's the guy who punched Prex for leaving the kids behind. Here, we're separating Lucia and Thalcia from Basha, Merton, and the two sons, Katoa, the one who died, from the protomolecule, and then the one who's in the book on the planet. We lose them, and we're getting this new version of Lucia, who, spoiler for later in the season, turns out she's taken Basha's role in being behind the blowing up, or being part of the blowing up of the landing platform. So that big change, I still haven't figured out why they did it and why they didn't just keep with what we already had. But whether it changed my enjoyment, I can't really say it affected my enjoyment. That particular change affected, but it's puzzled me.
Well, I think what they were trying to do is you've got so many male heavies in the amongst the Belters that I think they wanted to kind of get away from all the bad guys always being guys. So
Yeah.
I think that is probably one of the reasons. Also, her being an accidental bad guy.
Right.
That kind of moderates her, her guilt a bit. It doesn't exonerate her, obviously, but
Right.
it moderates it a bit. And I think it's a reasonable balance. Realistically, I think it's a reasonable balance.
Were there any changes that stood out to you that?
Would it be
Okay.
correct to say that the scene where Mercury puts the bullet in the Belter guy was supposed to be the scene where we see in the books that all the trying to think what their group is called that Mercury belongs to, the
RCE.
RCE, where they come in and like just start shooting like 10, 15 Belters?
No, that shot when Murtry kills Coop is straight out of it's
Okay.
an altered version of when he kills Coop in the book.
Okay, I
right
couldn't
in
remember.
front of Holden. Yeah, Coop's the one he kills right in front of Holden.
Yeah,
right after Holden tells him no more retributions, and then so that was a change, and it kind of lessens. It the way they changed it on the show, it makes Murtry look worse than the book makes him look. Because in the book, Murtry is pretty much right all the time.
Yeah, and
he's not wrong.
And Murtry is also kind of getting back at them for two events. Number one, the downing of the shuttle, and number two, the ambush in the ruins. Because in the books, that for those who may not have read, the Belters actually the RCE knows the Belters were in the ruins, had been storing things there, and were waiting with riot gear to take the Belters. And the Belters found out about it, and they decided to conduct an ambush. So Murtry in the books is actually now ticked off about two events, not one.
Yeah.
And that was one thing, is like we never got the ambush in the TV show.
Right. No, and we're not going, and we don't later either.
And so like I'm trying to like line up the events from the book to the show, and like trying to figure out.
I don't even think there's an equivalent of burning down the house and killing all the terrorists. There's no other. There's nothing like that even. So
that's what I'm trying to figure, like which event this was. Was what I'm trying to think. It was like that event, or I couldn't remember that time he shot.
It was.
Because that was really early in the book, and I read that I don't know how long ago.
Yeah, it's about 20-30% of the way into the book when Coop gets shot.
Mm-hmm.
And it's for the same reason. He makes a warrant. He says, you better watch out. The day's still younger. It might happen to you. And Murtry takes that as a threat.
Mm-hmm.
And shoots him right there. And in the book, it's in front of the entire town, like in front of everybody.
Right. It's as if he would have done it in the show, right there where the metal locusts attacked. That would have been about
happened then.
Yeah, that would have been about the time frame for Murtry to do it.
Yeah.
So it's of course, at that point in time in the show, he and Amos hadn't yet gone out to investigate the landing site, so he would have been premature at that point.
Yeah.
Well, Amos never goes with him in the book to investigate. They never go back out to investigate it in the book.
No.
Any other changes that anybody wants to bring up?
Well,
I know you've been collating a list of them, Mitch.
Yeah, the whole all of the events of Miller getting Holden to go in to clear the route. Prior to that point, everything was closed up. Miller obviously opened it up so that Holden could get into the ruins and solve his little problem, and created what I would say was a very exciting sequence that occurred right after that. So I thought, that's obviously a big change. There's so many things that are either out of order or simply never occurred, that as far as what was in the books going to the show.
Which is why I think it's so amazing when people say this is the most accurate to the book adaptation out there. It's maybe 65-70% accurate, but it's still telling the same story.
Yeah. Now there are a lot of motivations. There are a lot of motivations that are changed, and relationships and such. But as you said, what you're carrying forward in the story as a whole is pretty consistent.
If anything, I would just mention that even though like we don't have Alice Lara, we don't have Bobby, we don't have Draper, like a lot of stuff is happening off scenes where you get like in the short stories you mentioned.
Yeah.
And they might not be one for one, is my guess. I haven't read them.
No.
But
They're not one for one, no.
Yeah.
No.
But you can see where things are picked from. And there's also a lot of what they're pulling from with like the stuff that's not shown directly in the book for this season is from reading between the lines of later books of like, okay, well, for a situation to be this in book 5, this is what had to have happened during the Illis stuff, the Illis Nutera storyline. This had to have been happening on Mars. This had to have been happening on Earth. And so the show is just showing us that.
Yeah.
Because that's what shows do.
And that's why I don't mind like this extra stuff they're adding, even if it wasn't in this book.
Right.
But like one of my main complaints I've had throughout is like they add a lot of extra drama. And I've not always been a fan of that. Though I do like the extra action they add.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, I
The
think
extra drama could be too much.
Yeah, and
Go ahead,
the biggie here is the Bobby David story. The short story is basically a David POV, and he's getting out of high school. He's about to go on to university, and he's been cooking stuff up, make a little extra money, and so on and so forth. The relationship between him and Lily, who is the young lady that comes in with the 2 goons and gets beat up by Bobby. The relationship that was in the short story is completely different from what we're seeing here.
Very different.
If anything, I think the way they portray her and have set up her story, her being Lily, is far superior to what's in the short story.
I guess that Dale McLeod is pretty good as Lily. She's not up there on one of my best actors of the episodes, but throughout the season, I think she's really good as Lily. And she just kind of stood out for me the whole season.
Well, she portrays that character so well. I mean, you can believe that character is what she's presenting. You're not getting any kind of, oh, that seems kind of weird. I mean, I think what the character she's portraying, she does it spot on, really.
Yeah. So I just wanted to give a little shout out to the actor playing Lily.
Oh,
I had when it comes to other changes, I also liked seeing the addition of the stuff with Drummer and Ashford. I hated Book Ashford, but the TV show Ashford, he's a close call to being one of my favorite characters on the show. But I like the stuff the 2 of them are doing, and they're looking into the bodies that were launched towards the gate and towards the ring gate. And who the pirates were that took that ship.
That one. There you go.
Yeah, I was going to go with that wallpaper was going to be that shot, or essentially that shot.
Oh.
And I'm like, nah, that's too morbid. That's just too morbid. Let's see. What's our next question, Max?
Favorite scenes or dialogue?
I think the best line in the episode is a lie. It's Avasarala quoting Admiral Souther. The war does not end when people put down their guns. It ends when they reconcile. Until then, the war has only paused. And I think that's a hell of a comment. And, well, I don't recall Souther actually saying that, but Christian says he said it, so.
I think half of what she said during that thing was a lie, so.
Yeah, right. We do find out later that she may have been paraphrasing at best.
Right.
Yeah, that's a good one.
My favorite scene, though, is probably the scene between Bobby and Arjun at the dinner. Just that whole dinner's, everything connected to the dinner, from Bobby getting there to her sitting trying to talk to the people next to her and then talking to Arjun. And then the scene after dinner with Christian. And she basically tells Christian to fuck off.
Yeah.
You know? And I liked it.
I thought the way they made the whole dinner thing seem so uncomfortable was good. And then, of course, when Avasarala, talks about how, we've been working together, she kind of, leans her hand towards Bobby sitting at the far end of the table.
Right.
Bobby is incest at that point. And you could see it on her face. There's actually a fairly long shot while Avasarala is talking, and Bobby's sitting there fuming.
Just
Yeah. And I thought, that whole dinner thing was uncomfortable. The way she actually ended up accepting the invitation was uncomfortable. I don't think there was any aspect of that whole dinner thing that was, how did Bobby put it? She was humiliated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All they saw was Earth lapdog.
Yep.
Coming
She was
to heel.
humiliated. Yeah. And that's a horrible feeling to ever have.
Yeah. But the scenes were great to watch.
Mm-hmm.
They were great. Really well done scenes. That's what I think I liked about them.
Yeah, I had 5 altogether.
Go for it.
Scenes.
Give one and then let Max give one so we don't steal his.
Okay. I'm going to. I have 2 Bobbies in here. This one was short and sweet. Way grabbing Amos' drink while he's at the bar. Absolutely loved that. The convo going up to it, and then they're saying, "Well, what else have you got?" It is just short. It's sweet. It is just absolutely killer. I loved it.
I would say, for me, that scene where Amos walks out of his room after that little session with that lady, and Murdery like shoots the guy,
Mm-hmm.
and Amos has a look on his face like, "Oh shit, this isn't good."
Oh yeah,
good way to put his name, Murdery.
Yeah, he wasn't expecting it.
Yeah, I like that look on Amos's face of like, "Oh shit." I'm just gonna stand here and watch this because I don't know what to do.
Even Way standing next to him had that unbelieving look on her face, like, did that really just happen?
And then dialogue was like maybe 30 seconds before that when she told him to shut up, and I was waiting for her to slap him.
Yeah,
like shut up and be quiet.
Right.
And then she ends up making almost as much noise as he was.
She was noisier than he was. I don't know what she's talking about.
Like I said, I was just waiting for her to like punch him or slap him when she said like, shut up and be quiet.
Yeah. One scene I thought was absolutely, or a little sequence that was absolutely grand. After the route has been cut and you have the suspense of the escape from the ruin. That was really nicely done. You always have to have somebody slip and fall, but
who was it said Indiana Jones moment?
Yeah. And I love the whole payoff. And that is when they're both laying on their backs, Holden reaches into his pocket and gives Alex his beanie back.
That was great.
Yeah, which had fallen off.
Yeah. I hadn't noticed that until like my 4th or 5th rewatch. Noticing it fall right on, right at him. And it's like, oh, okay.
Okay.
I'm like,
I don't
said it first.
I don't know if it was written that way or if somebody noticed that the beanie had fallen off and then said, "Oh, okay, we have to remember to make good on that later."
It's only too bad Holden had to reach his arm in to pull that road out.
Right.
Yeah, would you do that? I mean, what if that thing had snapped shut?
I've seen too many movies and TV shows.
Yeah.
I read too many books.
Yeah. Another one, actually, while they were down there with the whole root thing, the way that Miller presented the issue with all the voices in his head. That was, I mean, that was almost heartbreaking. And, Alex Holden's reaction, you hear all that? It's just.
That was my other favorite moment of the episode.
Yeah, that was just.
I mean, it's a tragic. It's not a favorite. Like I like it. I mean, that sounds wrong saying it's my favorite, but I think it's the best one of my other choice for best moment of the episode.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that's a better way of putting it.
Yeah.
So I guess the question is, when he removed that root, was that a root canal?
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay, Max.
Okay. My last one was basically Bobby kicking butt in the lab, in the meth lab. Yeah, that was a short, sweet fight, which is the way a Marine would do it.
Although I suspect the blocking didn't quite work out on the day of filming, because I don't know that they intended for that vat of orange goo to actually get spilled and to have us see that it's just this thick, viscous goo that doesn't drip. It looks like a liquid sitting in the vat, and you would think it's being used for drugs, so it's going to be a liquid. But then we see it's almost solid. So I don't know if that filmed exactly how they intended, because that got spilled all over the place, and it was pretty gross.
Well, there was a shot of David underneath that that table, and you could see the edge of the goo on the floor. So I assume that they either, once again,
I'm just talking out my ass.
Yeah, it's a stunt. They knew they were going to do that. Yeah.
It's just I don't like somebody's choice then, the prop master's choice for what they had in. The goo just doesn't seem to fit with a drug cooking setup to me, but maybe that's just me.
It's future drugs.
Yeah, and in the books, David was creating gel caps. So that could have been the reason.
Maybe, yeah. So I take it you read that in the last week.
Oh yeah, I've been doing a reread just to take notes and all that. I want to be as obnoxious as possible here.
Beat me at it. Do more than me. Can't be worse than me. Where are we at, Max? We have any more favorite scenes?
No, I think I'm good on my end.
All right. And now it's production. Music was good. I found out something that actually has more to do with last week, because it was the shot sequence, the montage of shots as the Rossi crew went from the Rossi into town, and they were walking along all those lakes and everything.
Right.
Found out that's a active quarry about an hour and a half outside of Toronto. And all those weird lakes and all that water, that's actually what it looks like there. It's all runoff from the quarry that's giving these vibrant colors to the lake. Okay. That's why it has this very alien look to everything. But I still think things look great. I mean, they hardly use any CG except for the proto-molecule stuff, like those structures, were CG. I don't know if the drone was CG. I don't know if we have drones like that. Do we have drones that work like that now?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. In fact, I was going to
small and light.
I was going to comment that it's a very 21st century thing to have in 200 or 300 years.
I just don't know if that drone is. I wasn't sure if the drone was something we have now or if that's like a few years away. But if it's something we have now, that's really cool.
CG, we obviously had that thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Now, I did like. I am assuming that the face of Oh,
Talking about the Illis, specifically on the Illis stuff, they hardly used any CG. Sorry, I
Yeah.
should have been clearer.
I thought the facade for the ruins when they walk up to it and all that really looked great. I mean, for a set piece, that really looked great.
Yep.
I like that scene.
Yeah. I love
Decent
how,
mix of practical effects with CG. Especially when you get to the like that side of the practical effects of the set.
Mhm.
And then you have the interior with him and Miller. With the roots and all that.
Yeah, I think the only thing CG is going to be the long shots of the ruins,
Yeah.
and even those might be models, but I would imagine it'd be easier to just draw it up and portray it that way.
Oh, the lighting is definitely
That's very cool.
it's if it's not a CG, it's like CG-ish. You know what I mean?
Right. Well, that shot is definitely CG generated.
Yeah.
Like you could have a model and then you can use CG on top of that model, is what I'm saying.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Let's see.
Anything else? Any other scenes or lines of dialogue anybody wanted to give a shout out to?
Well, actually, that graphic you just had up
Yep.
is what was
Great
it?
shot.
Miller says, yeah, Miller says, "Oh, what have we got here?" What
I
that
like
shot-
how they gave a nod to the book. People who've read the books will know the line, it reaches out, it reaches out, it reaches out,
Yep.
it reaches out. 113 times a second it reaches out. Here we get Miller, I'm reaching out, I'm reaching out, I'm reaching out. And from there it changes, but they gave a nod to the it reaches out, to the investigator reaching out.
Mhm.
Kara G is drama.
Oh yeah. That's
Her
another
and
story.
Ashford might be my favorite belters next to Naomi.
Yeah, that's
After
another
that, there's not many
storyline.
belters I like.
Yeah, the Belter storyline there. It's nice that they're keeping us up to date on all of that with the lead in into Marcos and such. So that I really appreciate that they're doing that, and it's kind of dry at this point. It seems to me, Drummer and Ashford going back and forth talking about where it came from. We need to find them, and it's nothing exciting, but it's establishing what we need to know later.
Interesting piece of trivia. Ashford was never supposed to be in season 4. They only planned on having David Strathairn on for season 3. Strathairn had such a good time playing Ashford, he asked, "Hey, you got more for me?" And so they incorporated him into the rest of the series.
All right.
And I'm like, if you got somebody like David Strathairn wanting to do more, and he did a job that was just brilliant in season 3, you'd definitely be like, yes, sir, we can write more for you.
Oh yeah,
Right
and
this way.
It's a dynamic character as well. So I mean, not
And
just the
he's
actor,
such a-
the character is just well written.
On the show. In the book, he's a cardboard cutout villain,
Yeah.
crazy bonkers madman in the book. And you hate his guts in the book. But on the show, he's just, man, I can't
speaking
hate
of,
Ashford on the show.
production stuff. Did Oliver notice anything with music this episode?
I didn't.
Nothing really stood out to me.
Good. Was there something in particular that stood out to you, Matt?
No, I don't know. Mitch has been keeping an ear on it this last season.
Yeah,
Trying to.
yeah, nothing really jumped out at me. You have the general theme music. It's not anything like Darth Vader's theme or anything like that, but you've got the different styles of background music for each type of character, and that's being maintained, so that's fine.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see.
All right. Where are we up to after that? Well, the special effects all look good. I don't think anything production side was a problem. Can turn that back from the floor. Sorry. I think everything production side was good.
Yeah, we've already talked about special effects.
So actors?
Yep.
I've got 3, so I'll let you guys go first.
I would probably, for me, I'm always going to go with Amos to a certain point. That didn't really have much in this episode, sorta. But I will definitely say Thomas Jane for this episode.
Thomas Jane is good in this episode.
And then Bobby.
Okay.
Oh, see, I like Bobby's storyline, and she's one of my favorite characters on the show and in the books. But I actually think this was one of Frankie's worst episodes. Or at least that scene when she went off on Avasarala, I just didn't find Frankie Adams to be as believable in that scene as she usually is as Bobby. That's just me. So I didn't put her down as one of my best, but
I like the beatdown.
yeah, the beatdown was great. I actually have Bobby down or Frankie Adams down as the worst actor for the episode, and that's only a relative thing. It's not like she was bad. It just that scene didn't convince me. How about you, Mitch?
I'm actually going with Bern Gorman again. The guy just impresses me with that character that they've got for him, how he presents it. Yeah, the other guy. Yeah, how he presents that character is just brilliant as far as I'm concerned. It's a man who speaks softly and carries a big stick.
Yeah. I definitely agree with Bern Gorman. He was my number 1 pick. My number 3 pick was Dominic Tipper as Naomi. I think the work she did, especially her being sick and reacting to the stress that's being put on her body and her heart, I think she did a really good job. But my number 2 for the episode, I'll have to tell you who they play because you probably won't know who Lindy Greenwood is. That's Elvie Okoye.
Elvie, yeah.
Yeah, Elvie. I'm a fan. I've been a fan of hers since she appeared on, what was it? Sleepy Hollow a while back when that show was on. She was one of the co-stars of Sleepy Hollow. But Lindy Greenwood was pretty good. She's acting with an accent. Either that or on the other stuff I saw her, she was acting with an accent because previously she had an American accent. Here she has some kind of African accent.
Yeah, it's some accent.
Yeah, it's not easy acting with an accent. Got a lot to think about.
I am surprised at how well and how consistent all of the actors portray the Belter accent. It is just so good. Even though Dominique, there are a lot of times when she goes into like heavy Belter and you don't get any T's. They cut off a couple of different letters will get cut off. Other times when she speaks, it's like almost full English. So she's not consistent, and I don't know if she's trying to overdo the Belter patois when she's talking to another Belter, and would normally speak less of the patois, speaking with an inner. That's all. That's what I'm assuming is happening there.
Have you noticed the accent with He Who Shall Not Be Named as Alex? That accent slides in and out too, but it's depending on the stress of the situation. You know, in a really stressful situation, Alex's accent will be really heavy Mariner Valley. But most of the time it slips off into almost non-Mariner Valley.
Mm-hmm.
But well, we don't mention the actor's name on here though.
Yeah, last episode when he was flying by Mars and had that live communication with Bobby, he was putting on the accent. It was coming on a little thick.
Oh yeah, when he's talking with other Martians, he tends to put it on a bit thick. Norman Garden had a really good point here. I think he was talking about when we were talking about Mercury as a villain. Norman Garden says, I wouldn't exactly say normal villain. He was in way over his head when events started to develop, and everything was after it was panic and paranoia. And like, yeah, I mean, that's true, you know, especially in the book.
Right.
You know, that's why I had, as much as I hate Mercury in the book and on the show, he's not wrong.
Oh, no.
And that's part of what I hate about him so much is that he's not wrong, you know, in what he says and what he does in the book.
I don't know which episode it's in, but at one point, you know, he's talking to, I believe it's Holden, and he says, and you're making me out to be the bad guy? You know, and he's going on, we've had all these
killers.
24, 27 people killed, and you're making me out to be the bad guy because I'm being a jerk, you know. And you're absolutely correct. Mercury has every foot to stand on.
Oh, good.
Ashford. Okay.
I see. Yeah. Oh, Book Ashford. I got you.
Okay.
Good call. Thank you for clearing that up, Noam. I appreciate that. Thank you for pulling that up, Max.
Mm-hmm.
It does carry over for Mercury as a good bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Marty.
Oh, it's funny. In this episode, Amos actually refers to him as Marty once.
Right.
Rather than Marty.
Oh, Marty, he's not my friend.
Yeah.
Friend left. All right. What are we up to next, Max?
Your favorite question of the night.
Oh.
Themes?
No. What is Alice Flower wearing for boots?
Oh, well, yeah.
Well, let's zoom in and find out.
Just don't knock me.
We got to get the innkeeper in for that. He has a special software.
That's right.
Oh, yeah, the boot analyzer.
Mm-hmm. But no, themes.
Well, Mitch, did you pick up anything that stood out to you?
No, I'm themeless.
All right. Max, how about you? What'd you find? I got a couple that stood out to me, but
drawing a blank right now.
The first one that stood out was there's a lot of family and friendship, you know, but mostly like family. There's Jacob and Lucy and Dulcia, and they, you know, the ones who invited Alex to come have dinner with them. Alex is he's not the woman of the crew, but he's the mother of the crew. He mothers everybody on that crew. You know, as Nami says, he fusses. And you know, so the Rossi, that's always been a family. You know, so you know, anything with them. Friendship, you know, was part of that, and that was supposedly there between Avasarala and Bobby, but they're having a rough patch at the moment. Because Avasarala is just clueless.
Mm-hmm.
Another theme I found, and I guess you can call this a theme, is the Earth and Mars is economic imperialism over the ring worlds. You know, it's Mars and Earth that decide who gets to go through the gates, you know, and who gets to colonize worlds. You know, the people who go through first don't have a right to what they're going in and claiming, you know. Everybody's trying to stop people from going through, and I'm just like, fuck that. Let people go. Let people go through. You know, you're not being fast enough on your scientific research, then let people go through. There's a population pressure in the solar system. You need to let it go. You need to vent. I understand the scientific need to study all these environments, but, you know, humanity's a pressure cooker about to burst, as we'll see next season.
Oh, yeah.
You know, it really, you know, I'm torn. I'll admit I'm torn on whether or not I think people should be allowed to just go through, you know, but, you know, I do resent the idea that corporations get to lay claim to stuff. Fuck that.
Right.
You know, we've had enough of that in history. We don't need corporations claiming star systems.
That's true. I mean, you do have the concern that Officer Allah expresses regarding the, you know, the floodgates opening. We don't know what's out there and what's it going to look like if, you know, you have a pile of colonists go and then we never hear from them again. And when we visit them, you know, 10 years later to see how they're doing, you see that they all died out of some plague or something.
I think it's closer to 50 billion, actually, for the show. It's 50 billion population of Earth, I think.
Mm-hmm. And it's funny, we're expecting to actually lose population by the end of this century worldwide. So that's kind of curious. You had brought up something regarding Alex. A couple of things. First of all, he was going to go to the bar. He was making a pass at Lucia. You know, when he said, "Yo, hey, I heard there's a bar nearby," and then he turns down her invitation. He talks to Holden and says, "I'm going to be staying here in town," and I kind of assumed that meant he'd go to the bar where Amos is, right? Then all of a sudden, he appears on the Rosie, taking care of Naomi, and Naomi asking him not to tell Holden what happened. That's one long ass shower that Holden's taking. Because he's going to take a shower and she was going to fix some drinks.
We don't know how long she was out on the floor. We don't know if Alex was there, how long Alex was before Alex found her, how long she was out before she woke up. It could have been literally less than 5 minutes from the time she fell to the floor puking to the time she woke up in the bed. It was Alex fussing over her.
Yeah, but
and
Alex
so, you know, a 5-10 minute shower is not unreasonable, especially after a day like that.
Yeah.
I can imagine Holden would probably be in there for a good 15-20 minutes.
Yeah, but Alex had told his captain, "I'm going to be staying in town." And then all of a sudden he shows up on the ship without telling the captain. You know, granted, there's a lot of leeway there, but it just seemed to me that was just a, you know, incontinuity in the show.
It happens.
It's small.
It happens.
Yeah.
On your previous thing about like going through the gates and the planets and all that, is either last episode or at least later in the book, Avatar brought up the point with Bobby regarding like what would happen to Mars in this scenario. And the scenario is that it's basically going to cause everybody on Mars to just vacate. And it's going to tank basically. It's going to end their dream of, you know, terraforming Mars.
Which is funny. Which is funny because when she and Arjun are going down to the planet, first of all, kudos to them to have the lighting and the background in the windows go from black into the red as they're descending. So kudos to them for that. Nice little touch. But Arjun goes on about, you know, we used to build these great cathedrals and it would take generations, and we've lost that. And here you can see it existing. And she made a comment along the lines of, "I wish I could see Mars the way you do." I thought that was a really, I should have written that down. Just popped into my head while you guys were talking.
I want to point out that the actor playing Arjun is Michael Benyer, who took over from the role of Brian George, who had played him the first 2 seasons. However, Brian George wasn't able to come back because he signed a contract to do something else when The Expanse was up in the air. So he wasn't available to do season 4, so they brought in Michael Bay. I don't know how to pronounce it. Michael Banier in to take over. And I think he's doing a pretty good job as Arjun.
Oh, yeah.
You know, I like that scene with, them on the flight down, and the magnetosphere giving us an Aurora Borealis over Mars, which was just a cool idea, They're bringing Mars. It's sad that just as they're bringing Mars back to life, Mars dies all over again.
So, I just bring up though that Avasar is basically talking about trying to protect the status quo of like this economic system they have, because if they keep have this flood, essentially the whole belt is going to die. There'd be no reason for it to exist.
Yeah, which is fine by me.
Well,
the belt is child abuse.
Yeah, but the Belters, as a society, they're going to continue being. They'll continue being Belters. Drummer has been pointing that out. And these people who land on the planet in 2 generations, they'll be inners.
Yep.
The Belters, yes, they have a tough life, but they know what they're doing, and it's still going to be a hell of a lot cheaper to get raw materials from the belt than it will from these remote systems.
Well, it's like that planet Illis is like almost all lithium.
Yeah.
And they don't know what these other planets are made up of. So it's like it depends on the makeup of these planets.
Very true. Yeah. An agriculture world, for example, might have a lot of value if it can export, just vast amounts of grain and such. It obviates the need for like Ganymede and, maybe a lot of what's ruining the Earth, and certainly Mars would benefit. But if you're talking about, regular rocks and minerals, I don't think anything out there would be of value as far as export.
But it's an interesting scenario of just like what's going to happen in their future with all that going on. But she's concerned about status quo, but they also have these corporations involved, and that's no good.
Yeah. Well, corporations have the money to invest. Otherwise, you'd have the governments doing it, and people who need services and don't get them because the investment's going to other planets, other systems, might be a little ticked off.
It's just the idea, like the whole Illis situation is because that one corporation is trying to take it over, even though the other people already basically laid the claim.
So it's Illis to you, not Nutera.
Whichever.
What is it to you, Mitch? Is it Nutera or is it Illis?
I call it Illis because the Belters were there first.
I'll agree with you on that. And I normally don't side with the Belters on everything because I think they cause a lot of their own problems. But I think raising a child as a Belter is tantamount to child abuse. So yeah.
And is there
generational child abuse? Generational child abuse on that on the belt.
And is there nowhere else on that planet that they can find lithium?
There's hundreds of other places, but
yeah,
as far as that corporation is concerned, they own the whole planet.
Yeah,
that's the problem.
Which is what pisses me off.
Yeah,
which is what pisses me off because it was the United Nations who decided that corporation. The United Nations is the furthest governing body from the ring. Of all the bodies in the solar system, the one that's the furthest on average from the ring is Earth. So, Earth has less say over the ring than anybody else as far as I'm concerned. And I'm an Earth firster when it comes to the Expanse universe. Earth first, but in this case, Earth doesn't have a claim. Mars doesn't have a claim. It's the belt who has a freaking claim on that out there. Because we've left Earth and Mars have left the belt to deal with the outer planets.
We know from the book, is Solar sent Holden there to basically cause trouble because she wants trouble to stop this flow of people out to the ring planets.
Yeah.
Yes, she's a devious old lady.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I love her to death, but I hate her guts.
And, given that, it's like, obviously that's not necessarily what's going to happen, or does, as we'll find in the rest of the episodes.
Right.
So true. No.
But
yeah.
Well, and you have to remember too, as far as the size of the gun goes, Earth has 50 billion people.
Yeah.
Mars and the belt combined probably have less than one. So I would think that
I don't know. I think Mars might have had a couple billion people.
Well, we know
sure.
we know the Belters have some pretty big guns, as seen in the show in later seasons.
Yeah, but they got that from Mars.
Yeah.
Well, no, it's what they do to Earth with those. Yeah.
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 No spoilers.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's what they do to Earth with those.
In the books, Mars has 4 billion. On TV show, it has 10 million, according to the Expanse wiki.
So they have 10 million according to the show.
Billion.
10 billion according to the show.
Show, yes.
Okay. And what do they say for the book?
Mars? 4 billion.
4. Okay.
So how many asteroids are in the belt?
What?
How many asteroids are in the belt?
Thousands, millions.
Yeah, millions, but most of them are the size of, New York or smaller.
Houses.
Yeah.
or a
I
house.
think the Belters might win this war.
Yeah, it's not as easy to launch a rocket at something as you would think. And we are spoilers for the books and the show.
Yeah.
Full spoiler. Only when we have reverse on will we backtrack a bit on our spoilers and stick to just book 4, because he hasn't read past that, I don't think. So I don't want to spoil past book 4 on him. Any other themes or anything else anybody wanted to bring up? Oh, I had one other theme. Only one case of it that I can think of offhand, but owning your flaws. Drummer and Ashford were owning the problems of the OPA's fractured nature. They weren't hiding from the fact, of any of the problems in the OPA. They owned it. Both those scenes with them, and they're talking about, these are the problems. They didn't say these are the problems with the OPA, but they gave you a whole bunch of problems with the OPA and why it doesn't work so well, and they own up to it. They own up to the problem that half of them are former pirates. Ashford doesn't hide the fact that he's former Belta Pirata. So that, and I can't say too much that there was other cases of that going on in this episode, but it is something that does happen a couple of times in this book. Characters owning up to their flaws, including Mercury. Mercury's actually more self-aware of his own flaws than Holden sure as hell is. Holden doesn't seem quite aware of his flaws as much as Mercury does. Is aware of his own flaws. So I'll give Mercury credit on that. Anybody else have anything else to bring up?
I'm good.
Nope.
All right. Well, I want to thank everybody in chat for watching. Thank you guys at home for watching. Thank you for watching live. Thank you for watching in replay. Please leave a comment, hit that like button, and subscribe if you already haven't. It just helps. And thanks for watching. Let's come back next week as we discuss episode 3. Do you have a title for that one, Max?
Not offhand right now.
Not offhand. We'll have it later. Thanks for watching. Come back next time and don't forget to be us.